I would encourage you to stay positive, to stay upbeat, and to give as much as you can.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
Hi, everybody. Another quick mini-sode. Dustin Harris hanging out with you. We are, of course, sponsored by Spark, sparkforappraisers.com. I want to talk today about karma. That's right. I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I'm a big believer in karma, but overall, I do believe in the principle of goodness. Let me tell you a true story, and hopefully we can parlay that into the appraisal world, the appraisal practice, and specifically, I want to talk to you today about, that's right, that old-fashioned customer service, right? We're going to talk a little bit today about customer service, what that means for you, what that means for your appraisal business. I want to use an analogy, another part of my life. I talk about it frequently here, and that is short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO, Verbo, as the cool kids say, right? And this idea that it truly is a hospitality business. If you think you get into Airbnbs because you love real estate and you love real estate investing, that is definitely something you should think about. And it definitely is part of the reason that I got into it. But the bigger thing that you need to realize with Airbnb and Verbo is that it is truly a customer service based business. It's a hospitality business. You are no different than a hotel. In fact, you're competing in many areas with the hotels out there. So think about the type of service that you like to receive when you go to that front desk, or you're making a reservation, or you have a problem with your room, at any Marriott or Hilton, or you name it. And that is the same type of service that you want to see with the short-term rental side of things. People expect to be taken care of. People expect to be heard and to be treated with kindness, okay? Now, one of the things that, as I record this, we're coming off a very, very cold weekend. And this was a cold weekend across the United States. And as a consequence, there were a lot of canceled flights. There were a lot of broken pipes. I had 2 different properties that had broken pipes in it, believe it or not. Frozen pipes that should have withstood the cold, but didn't. Houses that were just not built for this extreme type of cold. And as a consequence, it put people out. What do you do in those situations? Let's talk specifically about airline cancellations, right? This is of no fault of the individual. Now, with the short-term rental business, I follow a lot of what's going on online because I'm learning, I'm growing. I love education. I love getting better at what I do. And one of the things that I've been doing is learning what it looks like to be a hospitality agent, right? And I love to reach out to the community and find out what they're doing, find out what my fellow hosts across the country are doing. And so I follow Facebook pages and Reddit pages and other forums online where other short-term rental hosts, owners of short-term rental or managers of short-term rental properties get together and say, hey, I've got this situation. What would you do here? Now, sometimes, like anything online, sometimes people are really crappy to one another, but thankfully, for the most part, they're pretty kind, right? Hey, if I were in that situation, I might do this. Or, hey, if I were in that situation, have you tried this? Or I've had that situation before, and let me show you what I did that did work and didn't work. I love following these things because it allows me to kind of get an insight as to what my quote unquote competition or peers are doing across the nation. Peers is probably a much better word than competition. What are they doing across the nation, and how can I emulate that or be even better than my competition is? One of the debates out there is, do you give a cancellation fee or a refund where someone has reserved your cabin, okay? And let's say your cabin is in Nebraska and they're from Florida, and their flight for whatever reason got canceled and they can't make it to Nebraska. They've already reserved your cabin for 4 days. It's now 1 day before they're supposed to arrive. They message you and say, we've got a cancellation. The flights won't fly. We've got weather, blah, blah, blah. We can't make it. Can you please refund us? Well, here's the thing. with Airbnb and Vrbo, you set up those cancellation policies beforehand, and people are very aware of them. It's one of the reasons that people book or not book with you. Meaning, for example, one of the things that Airbnb does, I think, there's no way to prove this, but I'm pretty sure based on just the experiments that I've done and based what other people are predicting, I think one of the models that Airbnb does is it gives preference to those that have a very flexible cancellation policy. They want to treat their guests well. So if you've got a strict cancellation policy that says, hey, if it's 30 days before your stay and you can't make it for whatever reason, sorry, dude, you're not getting a refund, right? There might be that kind of cancellation policy. Or there might be one like mine. Most of my cabins have a very flexible, like 1 day in advance. If you tell me, you're going to get a full refund, right? Now, some people say, well, that's crazy because you can't rebook within a day of somebody canceling, and that's true. But what I think happens is Airbnb and Vrbo will prioritize your listing over others. So if someone goes in and says, I want to rent a cabin for 8 people in outside West Yellowstone, Montana, my cabin's going to pop up probably in the first couple because I'm so flexible on the cancellation policy, which means I'm going to get more reservations most likely. And so to me, it's a good balance, right? And as a consequence, I might lose out a little bit, but still it's a good balance. Now, I don't think that's actually my cancellation policy. I think it's like maybe 48 hours in advance. I can't remember for sure. Doesn't matter. The point is it's very, very flexible, yet it's still strict in the sense that if somebody contacts me or after the cancellation policy, then officially I don't have to give them their money back, right? So what do you do when someone's flight is canceled or some other thing happens that allows them to not be able to stay at your cabin? Now, you can parse this and say, well, a frozen pipe is my fault, not theirs, right? And so I might approach that one way. And a canceled flight is not my fault, but it's also not the fault of the guest. So that might be another thing to think about, right? And then I get other things like, well, my grandma's sick, she's got cancer. We felt like we need to stay home. We can't make it. I mean, my gosh, am I going to have some sympathy there or not? I mean, that really has to come down to what I am comfortable with. So the idea is this. Officially, I don't have to cancel. If you look on these forums, most of the individuals on there, and I do say a large majority, I would say 75% of the people that chime in on this particular topic are very bearish when it comes to the idea of cancellation policies, right? Hey, you've set up your cancellation policy. It is what it is. You tell them, hey, I'm sorry if you didn't get travel insurance, you're screwed. You're just out of luck. I mean, I doubt they're going to use the word screwed, but that's basically what they're saying, right? Hey, I'm sorry you're stuck in Florida, but my cabin is in Nebraska. You can't get here. Tough beans. I'm still going to collect the full money. You're still going to pay out, exactly what you paid in, and tough luck. Sorry about that, folks. I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, I'm not like that. I'm just not. And as a consequence, I'm going to share with you a true story that happened to me that I think we can parlay into this idea of appraisal, customer service specifically, how to treat your clients, how to treat homeowners, how to treat real estate agents. Yeah, we're going to talk about real estate agents as well. First, I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by Spark for Appraisers. Folks, Spark is a technology that allows you to be more efficient at what you do because it takes data that you already have chosen and it pushes it into your form with a touch of a button. In other words, this is something that might take you 20, 30 minutes to input correctly. Spark will do it correctly with a touch of a button in just a few seconds. Tell me that is not worth every penny you're going to pay for this great service. Spark for Appraisers. You can find out more by going to sparkforappraisers.com. Again, it's sparkforappraisers.com. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out with you in the podcast chair. Welcome back to the program. By the way, if you are not aware, we are on video now. If you're not watching me, I encourage you to go to YouTube and subscribe to the Appraiser Coach channel on YouTube, and you will get every episode, every podcast. We're finishing out the last few that we did in audio. So there's a couple still recorded that are just audio only, but within a couple of weeks, we'll be strictly video from here on out, and welcome you to kind of see how the sausage is made as you kind of see behind the scenes. Would love to have you be a part of the program that way and not just with audio. Okay, we're talking about karma today. I want to share with you a brief story, and then we'll wrap things up with talking a little bit about karma, as you will, in the appraisal world. I want to share with you an experience that I had over the weekend. Again, this was a canceled flight. Somebody messaged me, and by the way, this was a holiday, and they messaged me, and by the way, I mentioned it's a holiday because that's kind of a big deal in the short-term rental space. Holiday typically means higher rates, meaning I don't charge the same rate all the time. A cabin that might rent for $500 a night in the summer might rent for $200 a night in the winter. And during Christmas or Thanksgiving or New Year's or something, it might rent for, again, $500, just like the peak season. And so this was not a small rental. There was a significant amount of money at risk here, as you will. And somebody messaged me and said, listen, we are stuck. We can't make it to your cabin. We've had a canceled flight. We're going to try tomorrow. But would we be able to get a refund? Now, officially, the answer to that is no. When you look at my cancellation policy, I could have said, hey, I'm sorry about your canceled flight. I feel badly, but you're past the time window, and I'm sorry, I can't give you a refund. Now, I didn't do that. And again, 75% of my peers, I think, would have done that. I didn't do that. I just believe in goodness. I believe in kindness. Now, I'm not going to do this every time, but in this situation, I felt like this was not their fault. I felt like, yes, I could lose out on something, but I don't know. I'm a compassionate person. Now, I'm running a business. I'm not running a charity. I get that. I understand that principle, right? But I also understand that I've been that traveler. I've been that individual who spent a significant amount of money to get somewhere, right? And it is what it is. So I decided to I'm going to call it the high road, though I wouldn't disparage anybody for just adhering to their cancellation policy. People are aware of it when they book, right? But I decided to take a different road, and I said, hey, I get it. This is no fault of your own. I hope you can make it, but if you can't, feel free to cancel. It will be fine. I'll make sure that you get a full refund. And I did. Now, that could be the end of the story, but here's the karma part. I kid you not, you're going to think I'm lying, okay? Because it seems so miraculous, but I kid you not, within 20 minutes, I think it was 18 minutes later, I got a new booking for the exact same day. It's a little bit less money, okay? I think I lost out in about $200-300, okay? But I got bookings for the same weekend, a holiday weekend. This is unheard of, folks. This is the day of. I got a booking the day of, the morning of. They were going to arrive that afternoon or into the evening. And it happened to be because they were in another property that had frozen pipes and they didn't have any water. And so they had to find another place. And my place just happened to be available. Again, literally as they were looking, it became available because we canceled out. We gave them their money back. And as karma would have it, whether you believe in it or not, right? I was able to get a booking. And yes, did I lose out on a little bit of money? Absolutely. But I did not lose out on thousands of dollars, which I would have missed out on had there not been a new booking. Now, am I going to say that it was some Christmas miracle? Or it was some, mystical, thing that this, I don't know. I really don't. All I know is I felt like that was the right thing to do. And I do believe that when you do the right thing, overall, not every single time, you can't always say, okay, I did this, and then 20 minutes later, this happened. I get that, right? That would be silly. But I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, karma works this way for me. I describe karma differently than I think other people do. Most people will say that karma is a tit for tat. Most people will say that if you do this, then karma would say that you're going to get this. Okay. You pay money to charity, and as a consequence, your business is blessed. Okay, maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. And I don't know that I believe in it that literally. But I do believe this. I believe that what you focus on becomes bigger. Okay. And that to me is karma. When you focus on goodness, when you focus on hospitality, when you focus on compassion for others, I believe that overall, your company, your world, your family, your relationships, your health, whatever it is, your finances, all of those things are blessed. All right. How does that relate to the appraisal world? Okay. And by the way, let me clarify something. I know this word blessed has a religious connotation. I don't mean that in a religious way at all. And if you are a believer, in a religious context, then fine. I have no problem with you putting what I'm saying in a religious context, but it was not meant in a religious context. I truly believe that there is a law, a principle, I don't know. I don't even know what, label it however you want, but I do believe that when you focus on goodness, that goodness is returned to you for whatever reason. And you can explain it scientifically, you can explain it religiously, you can explain it with the laws of the universe. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I do know this, that when I try to be good, it seems like goodness is returned. Now, let me wrap this up by sharing with you how this applies to the appraisal world. Folks, I know it can be difficult. You're dealing with crappy AMCs, crappy clients, crappy real estate agents. No offense. I know a lot of real estate agents listen and watch this program. Okay. Love y'all, but sometimes you're crappy, right? Sometimes it's hard as an appraiser to deal with that. And it can be easy to get jilted. It can be easy to be negative. It can be easy to slip into that mode that just isn't really healthy. Okay. I would encourage you to stay positive, to stay upbeat, and to give as much as you can. When I say give as much as you can, I mean that. Whatever that means for you. I can't promise you that every time you do something good, goodness will be returned. I can't promise that karma works that way, but I do know this. In general, if you are good to others, they will be good to you in return. Thank you for joining me, folks. Really good to have you, both, again, audio and video. If you're listening on audio, highly recommend that you get over to the YouTube channel, that you subscribe that way so you can kind of see behind the scenes, see kind of how this thing is made. You can see my my lovely face, my facial features. It makes for a different experience. Thank you for joining me, and we will talk to you soon.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.